Hello and welcome. This is Eric Janesco, head coach and CEO for Maximum Acceleration. I'm bringing you the Business Acceleration e-zine for July 2013. Well, this time of year, and this year especially, it's been a challenging year because we had to shift our thinking and focus mid-year. So one of the things we often do with our coaching members and clients is we work with them to do a mid-year review or planning. We begin the year with one set of goals and targets as far as what we want to create in the business and how to make things work. But then as things have shifted through the year, it's time to take a step back and look at the bigger, longer term picture. So today's program is a little bit about how to help you do that. You see, in this business, it's really finding a lead is about finding a need, a customer who can benefit from the services we provide with originating a mortgage. And as that, often shifts, particularly in a transition market like we're experiencing right now with interest rates climbing dramatically, everything needing to shift from a refinance-based business to a purchase-based focus. There's only a handful of refinance opportunities still left out there in a couple of markets. But a lot of times that can become like mining for gold, right? You've seen these shows on Gold Rush and popular shows on cable TV. The reality is that, if you're a miner and you want to extract gold from the earth, what you have to do is literally go through moving millions of tons of earth to filter it down through this complicated wash plant system that has to be fine-tuned just right, and eventually you find these little nuggets. And so sifting through the opportunities of the general population, and sometimes it can be a little overwhelming to figure out how to go through that process of finding who can really benefit from a mortgage. So one of the things we need to realize is we've got to start to think about who can benefit from our services. So as we begin to shift our planning and focus from a refinance-based business to a purchase-based business, because of the market pressures and shifts that we've been talking about for years, has finally come about. We pushed into interest rates that were 3.5 2 weeks ago, and now they're looking at high 4s to low 5s, depending on your loan amounts. So the needs of the people out there in the market are different. But what we find is that the life events are often what typically drive most of those needs. Now, there still may be some refinance business out there. If you're in those higher index markets that the property values are just now coming back to where they were 05 or 06, maybe if you're not all the way back to the peak of those values in 06 or 07, likelihood is you're getting pretty close in most markets. Now, the borrowers who were not able to refinance over the last 5 or 6 years because their properties were underwater might be in a position to go ahead and take advantage of the fact that, even as little as 3 months ago, if they'd looked at their property values and they were still a little bit underwater or too tight on negative equity to be able to make a refinance loan work, it might make sense now. So those are some people to reach out to and think about. But really, when you think about it on the purchase side of things, there's a whole lot of opportunities that are still incredibly good. We're still dealing with interest rates that are some of the best interest rates we've seen in the last 70 years. There's only been a handful of years where interest rates have been at or substantially below 6% over the last 70 years. There was a period of time in the late 40s and early 50s. There was a period of time in the early 60s. There was a period of time in the mid 2000s, but that's it. That's, really, I would bet probably less than 10 out of the last 70 years, if you started looking back historically, have interest rates been so favorable. What that means is, from a purchase standpoint, homes are still incredibly affordable, and much more affordable than they were in 06 or 07. So think about the life events of what's taken place over the last 5 to 7 years in the families, the people that you've helped in homes before, the people that your real estate agents have helped put into homes back in 04 and 05 and 06. And people who may, even if they're not your own personal customer base, the people out there in your market, in your neighborhoods, in your communities that could take advantage of this incredibly powerful housing opportunity. Think about it. We're still seeing home affordability where most families in most markets could get a much nicer home for the money, for the monthly payment, moving from renting to a buying situation. There are families out there who bought the home in 2006 or 2007 who have had some changes with their family size. Like, they've had 1 or 2 or 3 additional children over the last 7 years, or their parents have had to move in with them. Long story short, the home they bought in '06 is probably not adequate to their family's needs right now any longer. And maybe they think they couldn't move because of the fact that their property was underwater, 6 months or a year ago, and they didn't want to sell it for a loss, or they didn't want to dump it and lose all that paper equity that they thought they had based on the peak values if they were comparing it to '06, '07 prices. Maybe it's they didn't think they could afford a larger home, and they haven't thought about the difference between what the cost of a home is when interest rates are still in the 4% range versus being in the 6% range. A $2,500 a month house payment, principal and interest, conventional standard loan kind of thing. You're talking the difference between a $400,000 loan and a $500,000 loan when you look at a 4% interest rate on for a $500,000 house versus a 6% interest rate will only buy you a $400,000 house. You're talking $100,000 more home for the same payment with interest rates where they are right now. And so as we see some of the stabilization in the market over the next couple of weeks, we think that there's a huge opportunity to get that message out there and maybe even light a fire. And I think, my personal opinion, that's a lot of what has driven the market shift that we've experienced from where we went from having, 10 homes for every one buyer to where we now have 10 buyers for every one home. And buyers are finding themselves in a highly competitive and highly contested bidding war type of environment when it comes to making offers on properties. So there's some subtle adjustments that need to be made in the process, and we need to be talking to clients about how to help them think differently. But more importantly than anything, for the stability and planning of your business, you need to be thinking about how to find ways to reach out to and connect with those people who have these opportunities. The people who need to move because of rental, the people who need to move because of family size, the people who might want to think about maybe relocating to be more convenient for their job. The guy who's, because of the recession and everything, had to take a job that has a 30 or 40 mile commute daily, one way. He's spending an hour and a half, 2 hours a day in the car and blowing $800 a month on gas just getting back and forth to work. Maybe it makes sense to move a little closer to the job, that kind of thing. So there's all these different opportunities coming up that if we can really think about the needs of the consumer, what are the life events that drive a consumer to want to make a change in their lifestyle, that's where we're going to be able to find those opportunities. Now, you guys have heard me go through this example before. At the end of the day, marketing and business is all about the numbers game. If we just talk to enough people every day, we're going to filter it down to the 1 or 2 people that we can really provide a service to, help them make that transition. So it really is just about knowing what our daily disciplines are. My good friend Rene Rodriguez taught me this example about breathing, and what he shared with me is, here's the thing. Think about, if you walked into a doctor's office and he checked your blood pressure and said, wow, your blood pressure is really high here. We need to do something about this. You need to fix that. And he turned around and walked right back out. At that point, you'd probably be pretty annoyed. So you fire that doctor, you go to a new doctor, and the young lady doctor this time tells you that, wow, Joe, your blood pressure is really potentially an issue here. We need to figure out if this is a temporary thing due to stress and anxiety, or is this a more persistent problem for you? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to slow down and take some deep breaths with me. And of course, the doctor introduces us to a deep breathing exercise where we do a slow 3-count in breath, 3-count exhale. And so, in fact, do that with me for just a second. Ready? You see, you're already feeling a little more relaxed, and you're already seeing your blood pressure lighten a little bit. Your pulse is flowing. You're calming yourself down. And see, the reality is the doctor then tells you, okay, so I want you to continue that pattern for a few minutes. I'm going to go check on another patient. I'll be back in a few minutes to check on you. She comes back, and lo and behold, your blood pressure's right back in line. You see, you got irritated with the first doctor because he told you to fix it, and you didn't really know how. But the second doctor gave you a strategy and solution that allowed you to control your blood pressure through your breathing. So the next question becomes, what is the breathing of our business and of finding a lead? And in a lot of cases, we talk about the daily disciplines of finding purchase business and what that really looks like. And that comes down to basically a volume exercise. So one of the things we do with our coaching members is we walk them through a volume and goals exercise worksheet. Now, we do this at the beginning of the year to set the plan. But it's a good idea to take a step back and reevaluate what might have shifted in the market and where we need to maybe make some adjustments. Okay, so you guys have seen this spreadsheet before because we talked about it back in January. But as we start looking at making the adjustments here in July as we go to this mid-year review, we want to go back to this tab and look at it a little bit differently. See, the first tab that we want to work on here is what we call the yearly required tab. Now, down at the very bottom of the spreadsheet, you punch in yearly required. So let's say we need to make 18,000 a month, or what works out to about 200,000 a year is where we really want to be in our business. That's where we really want our income to sustain so that we can cover the bills, cover the payroll that we need to cover for assistants or staff salaries, those kind of things. But let's say 200,000 a year is where we want to be minimum standard. Okay, that's our basic budget requirement number. So as you work through this worksheet, you put down your average loan amount. Now everybody's market's going to be very, very different. If your average loan amount is 500,000, you're probably not making 150 basis points commission. If your market is lower, you might actually be making a lot more than 150 basis points commission. So that is up to you. Now this is based on my market right here in Central Missouri. Our average loan amounts are, actually probably even a little bit less than 180,000. And if I want to make 200,000 a year, I'm making 150 basis points. That means I need to be closing basically 6 deals a month. And to be closing 6 deals a month, if I have a 50% pull-through ratio from lead to closing, by the way, the definition of lead here is somebody who has an opportunity to benefit from a mortgage and we're having a two-way conversation with them. I'm not talking about the names and phone numbers you get from lead sellers or marketing companies. I'm talking you're actually having a dialogue with a customer who has some opportunity to benefit from buying, selling, or refinancing a home. Okay, so if we have a 50% pull-through ratio with that, what that means is I need to be focusing on how to close about 140 loans a year, or I need to generate about 148 leads a year. So if I'm going to take 4 weeks vacation that year, have 2 dead weeks because of holidays, that means I need to be focusing on a daily or weekly discipline of generating 3 solid leads a week. Now, 3 leads a week isn't even 1 solid lead a day. And remember, that's a person who has the opportunity to benefit from buying, selling, or refinancing a home, and we are having a two-way conversation with them. So if I just focus on my daily discipline being finding 1 new potential customer who has a need and that I can have a conversation with, then that's all I really need to worry about to make sure that I'm sustaining my income. Now, if I'm not quite on pace with that income yet, then maybe I need to step up my lead volume activity. Okay, so we've worked the numbers. We have an idea what our daily volume needs to look like. Now, let's talk about what it might look like to go to a completely different scale. At the end of the day, I often use lead generation, the purpose of finding people who have those needs, we equate it to fishing. So think about there's 2 different ways to fish. You can use a rod and reel like this gentleman is, but there's a lot of things that could go wrong that keep the fish in the water instead of in the boat. And that's kind of the whale approach, or trying to land the one big fish versus using a net, which is the other method you can use for fishing. Now, if we're talking about feeding our family and we're talking about generating a consistent poundage of fish per week or per month or per year so that we have a consistent supply of food, then maybe the net method is a better approach. And if we think about doing it on a much more massive scale, if we fish with a net this size, for example, maybe we have a much higher probability. Now, there's going to be some filtering that's going to be required. There's going to be some fish that are not what you're looking for, and there's going to be some old shoes and used spare tires that have been thrown in the water that have to be filtered out as well. The other thing you have to realize is to cast a net that size, it's a commercial size fishing operation, you're going to have to work with a team. So one of the things we want to think about then is we start thinking about stretch goals of where we want to be 6 months to a year from now and what we want those volume goals to look like. If we want to really think about those stretch goals, that's where we go to the second tab in the spreadsheet down here along the bottom, the monthly focus tab. So if I want to cast a massively bigger net, and I want to go to a much bigger scale because I want to help a lot more people and as a result earn a much higher income, then I need to set a focus for how I want to grow throughout the remainder of the year and into next year. And so if we start thinking about how do I start taking this to a completely different scale, I want to challenge you to think big, set stretch goals that seem even somewhat impossible. And so often with our coaching members, we challenge them to, to take that, what's the most you could imagine doing in volume and income 6 months to a year from now, a target that we want to shoot for and grow towards. And then I ask them to double it. So instead of just thinking a 25, 30% gain, let's think a 200% gain or a 250% gain. So let's say my personal production, I wanted to take it from the 18,000 a month, 200,000 a year level to 45,000 a year, 500 to 600,000 a year total income or total revenue for my practice. Looking at the numbers again, that works the same as the first sheet, except they're done on a monthly basis, is 45,000 a month turns into basically with the same conversion ratio, 17 loans a month instead of 6, which is more than doubling the business. But here's what's really cool about this model is think about how it turns out when it comes to actual weekly leads required. Now remember, to make 200,000 a year on the previous tab, we only had to do 3 leads a week. To make 45,000 a month, which is more than double the income, we only need to do 8 leads a week, which is only 5 more leads per week. Now here's where I want to help you with a massive paradigm shift, is think about if you had 5 business development partners that you build over the next 6 to 12 months that you could depend on for 1 solid lead a week because of the collaborative effort and approach that you take and because of the vision that you have for creating a better lifestyle for them, being a true business development partner to those real estate agents, financial planners, CPAs, insurance agents, human resource directors, home builders. See, it doesn't take that much to get them excited about and focused on finding 1 good lead a week for their business, which translates into 2 to 3 solid deals per month for their business and all of the other ancillary benefits they would achieve as a result of that. See, when we really pair up and we create true leverage with those business development partners where we're really truly working as a team, pulling in the same direction for a common goal, that's when magic happens. That's when you can create explosive growth in your business, because then it's not all dependent on you. It's not you trying to be out there beating the streets, dialing for dollars, telemarketing, and all of the other aggressive strategies that aren't a whole lot of fun. It's you working with these partners to develop relationships that turn into, as a team, you and these 5 other business development partners making a difference in the lives of the people who can benefit from buying or selling a home and having an impact on your community. This information is to take this now and think about how to take it to the next level. What are the areas of growth where you need to focus to allow you to expand your business and to get to the level of performance that you want to be at to be able to make the kind of income that you want to make? Now, as you start looking at dialing in on a more strategic planning model, we focus on the growth model called the Pyramid of a Complete Loan Officer, which we've developed over the last 8 or 9 years in working with the Loan Toolbox team and Tim Brahim and his crew back in 04 and 05 and developing that through how we've operated, now putting close to 3,000 loan officers through our one-on-one coaching programs over the years. we have followed and found out that the three primary areas for growing your business are in the area of selling, presentation, marketing, operational systems, and team building. Within those four critical focus areas is usually where we find the majority of the growth takes place. By the way, just for clarity, selling and presentation is about capture and conversion. It's about explaining why you are the best resource in town to help that customer take advantage of the home opportunities that exist in the market and separate yourself from the competition. Marketing is about finding people who need your services, the people who can benefit from buying, selling, or refinancing a home. Operational systems is about efficiency. It's about being effective at what you do on a daily basis and squeezing down your process to the minimum amount of time per step in the process and being consistent and efficient in providing a quality experience for your customer. And then, of course, team building is you reach a ceiling of capacity where you can't grow beyond a certain level because there just aren't enough hours left in the day to do everything that you would want to do. And that's when you need to start looking at how to duplicate your team. And as you start looking at how to build an effective and functional team, when and how to add a sales assistant, when and how to add the right processor with the right skill sets and knowledge level that's going to be allowing you to do a higher level of productivity and focus more of your time and energy as an originator on higher payoff activities like generating new business development partnerships. Remember that every hour you spend chasing a condition instead of building a new partnership is costing you thousands of dollars an hour, because the hour spent building that one partnership could turn into a flow of 6, 10, 12 deals a year or more, versus the hour you spend chasing down conditions on one particular closing, which you could pay somebody $20 to $30 an hour for in most markets. So just rethink, what are the 2 or 3 biggest things you need to shift in your business to allow you to go from the 3 leads a week to the 8 leads a week, so that you can strategically grow towards that stretch target that you want to be hitting. If you'd like some help or guidance in how to do that, our coaching team would be happy to work with you and talk with you about that. Also, you're welcome to check out our Maximum Performance webinar series, which is a weekly free webinar we do every Tuesday at 11 o'clock Central, 9 Pacific, 10 Mountain, 12 o'clock Eastern, whatever time zone you happen to be in there. Basically 11 o'clock Central weekly on Tuesdays. If you'd like more information about upcoming events and programs in that series, you're certainly welcome to go to our website, mxlcoach.com/webinars. Or if you can't remember the /webinars part, just go to mxlcoach.com, and under the events tab, you'll see webinar events available. The next one coming up is with Coach Stephanie York, talking about leadership versus management, how to build a business that lasts. She's going to be going a lot into how to lead your team forward in the right direction and how to help build the ideal team to allow you to do those higher volume levels. By the way, that's Tuesday, July 9th is when that event will. Of course, our only goal is getting you from where you are to where you want to be faster. And so hopefully you've enjoyed today's video as an opportunity to take a step back, look at how to plan for a better future and to work strategically to achieve it. Of course, if you'd like more information about any of our 4 levels of programming that we offer here at Maximum Acceleration, anything from our live keynote presentations and events you're planning, helping planning a sales rally or event for your corporate group, either live or online, a group coaching program that's a public participation opportunity for one of the groups that we establish for you or for a corporate group, or a one-on-one coaching program for you individually. The best way we've found to help people understand the true value of coaching is to experience it via what we call our strategy sessions, which are group presentation, consultation appointments with getting together and actually viewing and experiencing live in real time what coaching can do for you. And that's one of the best ways to get some information. Of course, if you'd like more detailed instruction or guidance on what we can do to help you specifically, simply reach out to our coaching team with the contact information you see on your screen, and we'll be happy happy to get started scheduling a time to talk to you more about what we can do to help you get from where you are to where you want to be faster. Of course, as I close out today's program, I want you to take advantage of this opportunity. Hopefully these ideas that we've shared with you give you a strategy and approach to help you develop an action plan that will help you drill down to what you need to most achieve in your business to get you to that next level. And this time of year is a great time to do that, especially in the middle of this transition market, to take a step back and look at the bigger, longer term picture of where you want to be in your business and how to help you get there strategically. So we encourage you to take this time to take a step back and focus on what you need to change about your business. And of course, if there's anything we can do to aid you in that process, simply give us a call. We'd be happy to help. Otherwise, folks, I hope you have a great, very happy and safe 4th of July, and I look forward to seeing all of you and hearing from you in the near future. Make it a great week, everybody.